Hi, everyone. This is Ev Zervadakis, and I'm with Private Patient Advocates. And today we're going to talk about the basic practices we must live with forever. And I am going to be using my notes on my iPad, and just to make sure that I cover all the bases. I want to thank you for joining me today. Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Also, I'd love to know where everyone's from. It's an honor and a privilege to send and share my information with you through the internet. This time that we are all stuck in the homes and lockdown, pretty soon we'll be opening up in different parts of the country, if I understand the communications from the sources that I have. But we're all expecting to go back to a normal that we knew before. I'm not sure what that normal is going to be like, but I do know one thing. We need to keep the basics in mind. And if you haven't been practicing these hygiene basics, you need to understand them right now. And you need to understand how important it is to incorporate these practices in your home. So the number one thing that we always do in this house, and that's the way we were trained with our medical background, especially when you work in hospitals where we deal with a lot of diseases and stuff. What you want to do when you come home upon entering, the shoes are off. So it's a shoes off policy because they carry a lot of germs. And germs are out there. We have all different kinds of germs. We have bacteria, we have parasites, we have fungi, which are molds. We have also we have pollen, which affects a lot of people, and we also have the viruses. And those types of entities come in on the bottoms of our feet. And if we're not clean in the house and we cross contaminate, which means you carry the organisms or the infectious agents, all the same, uh, on the bottom of the feet you could get, or on the bottom of the shoes, you could bring them into the kitchen. You could put them into your mouth. um, if you have a cut on your skin, there's all different ways that these organisms can go inside your body. If you look at some of the previous videos, they're all on file, by the way, on the Private Patient Advocates Inc.com website. There, you just could click on YouTube and you'll see everything. So, and I always welcome your input and comments. So the first thing is, remember the shoes. No shoes in the home. And that means anyone that comes in. Because even though today you don't have COVID or you don't have a sickness, every time you go out in the real world, outside of your little cocoon in your nice clean house, you're susceptible to picking up something. So coming into your home, you need to have all these ideas in your head, like how you could get germs. So the number two thing to do upon entering the house is to wash your hands. And if you're going to go on to prepare anything in the kitchen, always make sure that your countertops and everything you touch are clean. Um, Also, when you're cleaning your house, wipe down the surfaces that you use all the time, especially the bathrooms and your kitchen area where you could have cross contamination. So, what is cross contamination? Cross contamination is when you you touch something um, that transfers the infectious agents from one place to another. So even though you may be wearing a mask or gloves, just remember, be very mindful that if there are germs on your gloves and you still have your gloves on, then you're transmitting the infectious agent to wherever your gloves touched. So once you take off your gloves, throw them straight in the trash, and then you have to wash your hands again. So you have to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is very important when it comes to infection control and cross contamination. So, also when someone sneezes, and that's how a lot of these viruses are transmitted, A sneeze could go, the droplets and stuff from your mouth could go for 30 feet. And what's been bad about the COVID-19 is it's very virulent. You hear the word virulent. Virulent means that it's really powerful, strong, and aggressive, and it could get into your body and cause a lot of problems. Where most viruses, they could be wimpy. They don't last a long time, and you and it doesn't stay incubating in your body, which means stay in your body where it could come up and show signs of an infection. So those were two big factors with this COVID virus, and there's still so much that we're going to learn from the epidemiologists. And remember, epidemiologists, they gather data and they present data, and then they plug all this data in to these computers, and they crunch out numbers. It's like playing the lottery. They do a lot of statistical analysis, and then they make a prediction. So I'm telling you all this stuff so you know that you have to use your mind, and you have to use your intuition, and you have to say, okay, how is this relating to me? And the worst thing we could do is to have fear inside of us, because fear will just lower your immune system and cause you to be more susceptible. So that's a whole nother topic. But just remember that these models, they played out. They wanted to suggest that we were going to have millions and millions of people die. Yes, that could have happened, and thank goodness it did not. However, the virus is out there, and if we don't have immunity right now to this virus, as it mutates, we may not have the same immunity um, as it goes on to the next season and the next season, or it could just disappear. So there are a lot of factors and variables. We really don't know. But what we do know and what we can control is our living environment. So the cross contamination is very important, and the things that you use every day could be sources of cross contamination. Your car steering wheel, your car door, your doorknobs in the house, the front door, your keys, where you put the keys, the stair railings, all that. Anything you touch on a daily basis, you need to make sure that it's clean. So how do we clean? Well, there's three ways to clean. The first way is to clean the surface, like with soap and water, and that removes the infectious agents. It physically removes the infectious agents. Well, that's fine. Number two is you sanitize. All sanitizing is to lower the numbers um, of infectious agents to a non-pathogenic level. What does that mean? That it's at a number where it won't get you sick. So I hope that makes sense to you. In other words, they drop the numbers down, so the chances of you getting sick are very slim, but it doesn't kill everything or disinfect. Disinfect is the next step, and that is when you kill or deactivate all the infectious agents on that particular surface, whether it's a hard surface or a soft surface. That's what we're focusing on today, right now. And there are ways to disinfect. Now, if you're going to disinfect hard or soft surfaces, I like to use a 10 or 20% bleach solution. That means 10 parts per 100, 10%. So that's 10%, 20 is 20%. So you just measure it out. If it's ounces, you do 100 ounces, 10 ounces of bleach, 100 ounces of water, and you have your solution. I like to put a couple of drops of Dawn in there just in case there's infectious agents that have a fat envelope like a virus or whatever, and that will break down and deactivate that virus. So another way is to disinfect is with UV light, because it kills pathogens. And that's why it's really good to go outside. Sunshine has UV light, remember, So it's always good to get sunshine. And if you hang things outside, it will kill and disinfect pathogens, and it's a nice way to do it. It's readily available when the sun's out. Number two, there's heat, flaming, and ovens. So in the laboratories, we use a lot of the steam heat, autoclaving, dry heat, and special ovens. But if you cook something at a high enough temperature, it kills a lot of the infectious agents, especially on meats and things like that. So the danger is if you have any greens that you're eating, fresh greens. Um, I've been doing this for years and people thought I was a little crazy. You know, the ready to eat lettuce was never ready to eat in my house. I always gave them a little wash, either with a vegetable wash that I made by myself, with a little bit of vinegar, white vinegar, baking soda, and water. And I would let it set for a few minutes, strain it, spin it so it was dry, and then it's ready. So I recommend that you do that. That's the way I've been living for many, many years. And thank God, you know, I'm a very healthy person. And by the way, I don't take flu shots because they make me really ill. So I'm one of those people that have a really good, strong immune system. And I attribute that to the knowledge and the lifestyle that I lead. The other thing that will help that will definitely disinfect is the infrared radiation, and you know those red lights and stuff that will disinfect. 70% alcohol, you hear, you know, the sanitizer, so any 70% alcohol will work. However, it does dry your skin, so be very mindful of that, but you do have choices. That 5% aqueous solution of phenol, that is in, you'll see that in shampoos and different things that we use on a daily basis, and that's so we don't have infectious agents growing in our shampoos and our soaps and in things that we drink. So that's another agent that you could use. Iodine is number six. Chlorine and the chlorine compounds, which I told you about, the 10% bleach solution or 20%. That's one of my favorites. Detergents like laundry detergents, dishwashing detergents, they all work very well. Formaldehyde is used in industrial settings, like that's why a lot of fabrics and carpets have formaldehyde in them because it kills. And in the laboratory, you know, we use formaldehyde to fix and preserve different specimens that we had taken out of the in surgery or whatever. And there's also glutaraldehyde, which is in the family of formaldehyde. And we have ethylene oxide. So those are the disinfectant agents that you could use. The other thing that I found very, very interesting, I came across a statistic from the National Institute of Health, NIH, and that was back in April 18th of 2016, and I will quote, of even greater concern is a flu pandemic, a worldwide epidemic of a new strain of influenza virus from which the human population has no immunity. That's also called a nouveau virus. Well, that's exactly what happened with this COVID-19 in 2020. And they've been waiting for something like this because it's a law of probabilities, and well, they modeled it out, and they expected 200,000 to 2 million deaths in the United States alone. So that's why you witness this precautionary measure by the government and governments all around the world. It was to save lives. So we have to be mindful of the cross contamination, that this is the thing of the future. These pandemics are going to come again because, you know, we use viruses when we produce GMOs, and that's why in the EU they don't allow any GMO foods. It's prohibitive because they have a different philosophy. about what they ingest in their body. They're very savvy and proactive. So viruses are used in the laboratory settings to produce GMOs, genetically modified organisms. So that is not going away. And my opinion is, from the very beginning, the way this virus was starting out, it was behaving very strangely, not like the typical influenza virus. And I called it a virus on steroids, or a hybrid virus. So it had DNA, RNA sort of components, but something very virulent. And we're still going to find out more. So I keep my finger on the pulse. I'm always researching, and I have my resources of scientists that produce journals. I don't listen to the mass media because some of these reporters, they're not very knowledgeable about epidemiology or what goes on with the healthcare system. They just don't understand. They take a little bit of information, and if it's sensational and it sounds really good, something that will sell, they run with it. But like I said, the worst thing we could do now is have fear. Trust in your higher being. Trust that everything is going to be okay. Trust that your immune system will take care of this. Yeah, some people get sick, but if you look at the statistics, the people that are dying from this are already compromised. Yeah, some young people are dying, but we don't know their medical history. We don't know if they had asthma. We don't know if they were vaping. We don't know if they were obese. Obesity is a big risk factor. Smoking is a big risk factor. So, also the way they're coding the virus, the diagnosis code, is a whole nother discussion. But that's something to really pay attention to, because there, from what I understand, there's two ways that they're coding in the hospital. And if you come in and you have symptoms of COVID-19 without being tested, then they throw you in one category. But if you were definitely tested, there'll be another category. So I don't want to digress. I went way over the 10-minute mark, but I did want to let you know that being mindful of what goes on around you, your surroundings, will help you be safe in your home. And I thank you for your attention, and keep those comments and questions coming to me. Either way you do it, I don't care. And I will continue to share my knowledge and information with you. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe. And for all you Orthodox Christian uh, people, have a happy Easter, good resurrection.